Trump likes to say, I'm playing the woman card. Well, you know what I say? If fighting for equal pay and paid family leave and raising the minimum wage and affordable child care is playing the woman card, then deal me in. Hear this, because you need to tell your friends. He's hired union busters to break up organizing campaigns on the properties that he owns. What little we know of his economic policies would be running up our debt, starting trade wars, letting Wall Street run wild. All of that could cause another crash and devastate working families and our country. Trump economics is a recipe for lower wages, fewer jobs, more debt. He could bankrupt America like he's bankrupted his companies. How can anybody lose money running a casino, really? And that's not all. I hear every day from families who are afraid of what a Donald Trump presidency would mean for millions of immigrants living and working in America. $16 million people in America are part of what's called mixed status families, where some loved ones are citizens and some aren't. Maybe the children were born here, but one or both parents are undocumented. I'm sure some of you have families like that. And these are not just statistics, are they? We're talking about real people. Men, women, and children. We're talking about neighbors, co-workers, and friends. A few months ago in Las Vegas, I met a 10-year-old girl named... She started to cry as she told me that her parents had a letter of deportation, and she was scared they would be taken away from her. In a lot of ways, Carla is a typical bright fifth grader. She loves science experiments, math, and Charlotte's Web. But she leaves for school every day terrified that her mom and dad, who are working hard to support their family, won't be there when she gets home. Her parents had to take her to a heart specialist who explained that living in constant fear was making her little heart beat dangerously fast. So when Donald Trump talks about deporting 11 million immigrants, he's talking about ripping apart families like Carla's. He's talking about sending a deportation force to schools, workplaces, and homes to round up moms, dads, grandparents, even children. When he talks about ending birthright citizenship, he's talking about kicking children who are born here out of the only country they know. And when he calls immigrants rapists and murderers, he's talking about families like Carla's and many of yours.
Estas gentes, muchos de ellos son hasta gente que andaban en las pandillas en Estados Unidos.
Frente a esa falta de oportunidades para esa población joven, se están convirtiendo en la reserva de mano de obra barata para el crimen organizado, ya que nadie les va a dar empleo.
Por la noche llega un grupo de americanos que vienen a hacer labor social y les traen otra vez comida. Esta gente no se preocupa por comer, se preocupa por obtener dinero para la droga que consumen, porque la mayoría ya son adictos.
Yo creo que dentro del canal, yo creo que más del 90% es usuario de drogas inyectables, pero el 100% consume drogas. Reducción del daño, que incluye intercambio de jeringas. Ahorita lo que nosotros vamos a llevarles es...
Cuando es nueva no sientes piquete, pero cuando es así ya viejita como y ya se achata el filo, pues ya batalla batalla para que entres en tu piel y para que pique la vena, a veces nomás la empuja, porque ya está chata, pues ya no la traspasa así rápido, la empuja nomás.
O sea, ni entra
tienes que meter recio.
We have to reject this wrong vision for America with a strong, clear voice. We have to stand up for hardworking American families, and that includes hardworking immigrant families. Mom and dad should be preparing their kids for their futures, not for the possibility that they could be hauled away at any moment. In my first 100 days as president, I will introduce comprehensive immigration reform. I will build on President Obama's executive actions and keep going.
This is a pattern we've seen for the last year. People who run against Donald Trump tend to go crazy by the end. And professional politicians, when they lose to Trump, don't understand why it's happening. They honestly, and I mean this with real empathy, actually. Hillary Clinton doesn't understand why anyone would vote for Donald Trump. She sincerely doesn't, because she doesn't understand voters very well. And so it's driving her crazy when she says, why am I not 50 points ahead? She means it. That's the most authentic thing she has said all year.
Right. Now, having said all this, why aren't I 50 points ahead, you might ask?
They may smile at you on the street, but that doesn't mean they like
And I got a high...
you.
Well, the choice for working families has never been clearer. I need your help to get Donald Trump's record out to everybody.
I have been in outhouses that didn't stink that bad.
Nobody should be fooled.
Are you saying I'm stupid? No. Do I look stupid to you?
He proudly declared himself 100% right to work. Let's not lose sight of the real pain that many Americans are feeling because the economy has left them behind. hired a union-busting firm to break up an organizing campaign. Where you are right now. And he built up his wealth by stiffing small businesses and contractors. That goes against everything we stand for as a country. And so I'm going to do what I've always done. I made it a practice to send emails that were work-related to people on their government accounts. I did not primarily conduct business on email. And I made it a practice.
I did not primarily conduct business on email. And I made it a practice. I did not. And I made it a practice. I did not primarily conduct business on email. And I made it a practice.
And now more than ever, we need you to keep holding leaders and candidates accountable.
It was you! Guess what? You just lost. You cannot obtain legal status or become a citizen of the United States by illegally entering our country. Can't do it. Now that you've heard about Hillary Clinton's plan, about which she has not answered a single question, let me tell you about my plan. And you notice all the time for weeks and weeks they're debating my plan, debating it, talking about it. What about this? What about that? They never even mention her plan on immigration because she doesn't want to get into the quagmire. It's a tough one. She doesn't know what she's doing except open borders and let everybody come in and destroy our country, by the way. While Hillary Clinton meets only with donors and lobbyists, my plan was crafted with the input from federal immigration officers, very great people, among the top immigration experts anywhere in this country who represent workers, not corporations. Very important to us. I also worked with lawmakers who've led on this issue on behalf of American citizens for many years. And most importantly, I've met with the people directly impacted by these policies. So important. Number one, are you ready? Are you ready? We will build a great wall along the southern border.
So there's several agencies that are here on scene. It was a South Pasadena Police Department call. They were assisted by Alhambra police officers, and there's also San Marino officers here as well as the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department.
And do we know if they that suspect was armed?
I don't know whether that suspect's armed right now. That will take several hours for us to figure that out.
So we don't know if the man had a gun or anything?
Do not know that right now. Do not know.
And who fired the shot? Caltech or Alhambra?
We don't know. Or at least the investigators haven't determined that yet. Obviously, the officers themselves know who fired, but our investigative team will take some time to get here and determine exactly who was responsible for what.
Were the officers hit?
No officers were injured or hit.
So should the residents be concerned?
No, there's no concern for the residents at this point. The suspect's in custody, being treated at a hospital, and the neighborhood is safe.
Thank you.
This is South Pasadena. Our photographer is going to try to get an earpiece in the spokesperson there from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and hopefully we'll be able to learn some more from him. You can look at the pictures here. You're looking at the intersection right there. That's Huntington and Fremont, and this was the SWAT team that was out this morning here after the call, and we understood there was a barricade situation as they were trying to arrest someone, and there's the suspect being arrested. We do have that picture.
I believe that is the suspect being arrested. He did say there was one person in custody.
And Mexico will pay for the wall. Remember. %. They don't know it yet, but they're going to pay for the wall. And they're great people and great leaders, but they're going to pay for the wall. On day one, we will begin working on an impenetrable, physical, tall, powerful, beautiful southern border wall. We will use the best technology, including above and below ground sensors, that's the tunnels. Remember that, above and below. Above and below ground sensors, towers, aerial surveillance, and manpower to supplement the wall, find and dislocate tunnels, and keep out criminal cartels. And Mexico, you know that, will... Mexico will work with us. I absolutely believe it, and especially after meeting with their wonderful, wonderful president today, I really believe they want to solve this problem along with us, and I'm sure they will. Number 2, we are going to end catch and release. We catch them? Oh, go ahead. We catch them? Go ahead. Under my administration, anyone who illegally crosses the border will be detained until they are removed out of our country and back to the country from which they came. And they'll be brought great distances. We're not dropping them right across. They learned that. President Eisenhower, they'd drop them across, right across, and they'd come back and across. Then when they flew them to a long distance, all of a sudden that was the end. We will take them great distances, but we will take them to the country where they came from, okay? Number 3, this is the one I think it's so great. It's hard to believe, people don't even talk about it. Zero tolerance for criminal aliens. Zero. They don't come in here. They don't come in here. According to federal data, there are at least 2 million, think of it, criminal aliens now inside of our country. 2 million people, criminal aliens. We will begin moving them out day one, as soon as I take office, day one, in joint operation with local, state, and federal law enforcement. Now, just so you understand, the police, who we all respect. Say hello to the police. Boy, they don't get the credit they deserve, I can tell you. They're great people. But the police and law enforcement, they know who these people are.
officer from the department there saying that he was also possibly hospitalized with injuries. This happened in the 1300 block of Huntington Drive. That's in South Pasadena. And there was a barricade situation that went on for hours. On Twitter, you can hear a lot of people from that area, residents saying they saw nonstop helicopter flying very, very low. It was very much an active scene.
They think this is a suspect that was arrested. There was a lot of confusion here. Residents say they heard gunfire at one point. At one point, there were thoughts that there were two other suspects.
They get mocked by these people. They can't do anything about these people, and they want to. They know who these people are. Day one, my first hour in office, those people are gone. And you can call it deported if you want. The press doesn't like that term. You can call it whatever the hell you want. They're gone. Beyond the 2 million. And there are vast numbers of additional criminal, illegal immigrants who have fled. But their days have run out in this country. The crime will stop. They're going to be gone. It will be over. They're going out fast. Moving forward, we will issue detainers for illegal immigrants who are arrested for any crime whatsoever, and they will be placed into immediate removal proceedings if we even have to do that. We will terminate the Obama administration's deadly, and it is deadly, non-enforcement policies that allow thousands of criminal aliens to freely roam our streets, walk around, do whatever they want to do, crime all over the place. That's over. That's over, folks. That's over. Since 2013 alone, the Obama administration has allowed 300,000 criminal aliens to return back into United States communities. These are individuals encountered or identified by ICE, but who were not detained or processed for deportation, because it wouldn't have been politically correct. My plan also includes cooperating closely with local jurisdictions to remove criminal aliens immediately. We will restore the highly successful Secure Communities program, good program. We will expand and revitalize the popular 287G partnerships, which will help to identify hundreds of thousands of deportable aliens in local jails that we don't even know about. Both of these programs have been recklessly gutted by this administration, and those were programs that worked. This is yet one more area where we are headed in a totally opposite direction. There's no common sense. There's no
St. Louis,
brain
Missouri,
power
after that
in
video
our
was released of him making comments about women in 2005.
Some Republican lawmakers have revoked their endorsements, and others have called for Trump to step down. Emily Schmidt is live in St. Louis with the very latest on this. Emily, good morning.
Chris and Lynette, good morning to you. Donald Trump has apologized, but certainly he has said he is not stepping down. If anything, he is firing back. In fact, he has had a number of tweets over just the past hour or so. The last one that we saw was saying, this is a quote, "So many self-righteous hypocrites watch their poll numbers, watch their elections go down." This is what Donald Trump is conveying less than 11 hours now until he takes the stage in this second presidential debate. He is saying zero chance that he will quit.
On the day of the second presidential debate, it is now and it is never.
Are you staying in the race?
100%.
And that never is unlike anything presidential politics have seen before. One day after an audio clip from 2005 containing sexually aggressive remarks surfaced, Trump apologized for the first time in his campaign.
I said it, I was wrong, and I apologize.
Just hours later, he made it clear he's moving forward, tweeting, "The media and establishment want me out of the race so badly, I will never drop out of the race, will never let my supporters down." Yet, unlike any Trump flap before, this time Trump's words are not enough to quiet a growing storm.
I'm out. I can no longer endorse Donald Trump for president.
Do I think Donald Trump should step aside, which I've been asked many times today? Yes, I do.
Members of Congress, members of the Senate, not only rebuking what Trump said about women, but saying it's so unforgivable they won't vote for him. Statement after statement calling on Trump to drop out. Some saying they will write in votes for Trump running mate Mike Pence. Pence and Trump spoke Saturday. Pence has said he cannot defend Trump's words. Meanwhile, it is now less than a month until the election. Early voting is underway and a presidential debate, perhaps the likes of which we've never seen before, just a few hours away.
The Sunday morning talk show is already going on, Chris and Lynette. Hillary Clinton's running mate Tim Kaine appeared on CNN's State of the Union and said he cannot imagine that undecided voters will not want to hear Trump talk about how he thought that this was an okay thing to say. That's Tim Kaine's perspective on this. As for Hillary Clinton, we didn't hear from her yesterday. She was doing debate preparation, but her campaign says she will address this issue very early on in tonight's debate.
A lot of people are talking about this, Emily. What's your sense there at the scene? What are people saying?
You know, Washington University is a place that's accustomed to high-profile debates. They've had at least 5 in the past, and there have been some big ones. In fact, back in 2000, says then governor of the state, Mel Carnahan, had died in a plane crash the night before this debate took place, and the state was really in a state of, I remember being here thinking, we can't believe that something so big could happen so close to the election. In many ways, what's happening here is the same sort of issue. How can something so big happen so close to the election? As we have Republicans calling on saying, let Donald Trump step aside. Easier said than done. RNC would have to come in. There would have to be state-by-state decisions that were made. As you know, people are already voting in early ballots. This is a complicated decision. It's playing out very much in real time, and people here in St. Louis are saying they just can't believe that they are watching this happen with less than a month to go.
Boy, a lot of people will be watching this. Thank you so much, Emily, for that live report.
All right, 7:40 right now, the time this morning.
Or our leaders?
We're going to go right to weather.
None.
We have some nice stuff on tap for today. Very similar.
On my first day in office,
yesterday,
I am also going to ask Congress to pass Kate's Law, named for Kate Steinle.
Very similar to what it was like yesterday. Yesterday, we hit 90 degrees in the downtown
to ensure
area, so it was a little
that
warm.
criminal aliens convicted
today, and then we're
of
going to
illegal
lose
reentry
tomorrow,
receive strong, mandatory minimum sentences. Strong.
Out there. We have 58
and
degrees
then
in
we
Van
get
Nuys,
them
60
out.
degrees Santa Monica, 54 Camarillo,
Another
62
reform
degrees in
I'm proposing
Oxnard,
is the
Lancaster,
passage of
49
legislation
Palmdale,
named for Detective Michael Davis and Deputy Sheriff Danny Oliver, 2 law enforcement officers recently killed by a previously deported illegal immigrant. The Davis-Oliver bill will enhance cooperation with state and local authorities to ensure that criminal immigrants and terrorists are swiftly, really swiftly identified and removed. And they will go fast. Believe me, they're going to go fast. We are going to triple the number of ICE deportation officers. Within ICE, I am going to create a new special deportation task force focused on identifying and quickly removing the most dangerous criminal illegal immigrants in America who have evaded justice, just like Hillary Clinton has evaded justice, okay? Maybe they'll be able to deport her. The local police, who know every one of these criminals, and they know each and every one by name, by crime, where they live, they will work so fast, and our local police will be so happy that they don't have to be abused by these thugs anymore. There's no great mystery to it. They've put up with it for years. And now finally, we will turn the tables, and law enforcement and our police will be allowed to clear up this dangerous and threatening mess. We're also going to hire 5,000 more Border Patrol agents who gave me their endorsement. 16,500 gave me their endorsement. And put more of them on the border instead of behind desks, which is good. We will expand the number of Border Patrol stations significantly. I've had a chance to spend time with these enforcement officers, and I want to take a moment to thank them. What they do is incredible. And getting their endorsement means so much to me. More to me, really, than I can say. Means so much. First time they've ever endorsed a presidential candidate. Number 4, block funding for sanctuary cities. We blocked the funding. No more funding. We will end the sanctuary cities that have resulted in so many needless deaths. Cities that refuse to cooperate with federal authorities will not receive taxpayer dollars, and we will work with Congress to pass legislation to protect those jurisdictions that do assist federal authorities. Number 5, cancel unconstitutional executive orders and enforce all immigration laws. We will immediately terminate President Obama's 2 illegal executive amnesties in which he defied federal law and the Constitution to give amnesty to approximately 5 million illegal immigrants. 5 million. And how about all of the millions that are waiting online, going through the process legally? So unfair. Hillary Clinton has pledged to keep both of these illegal amnesty programs, including the 2014 amnesty, which has been blocked by the United States Supreme Court. Great. Clinton has also pledged to add a 3rd executive amnesty. And by the way, folks, she will be a disaster for our country, a disaster. In so many other ways. And don't forget the Supreme Court of the United States. Don't forget that when you go to vote on November 8th. And don't forget your Second Amendment. And don't forget the repeal and replacement of Obamacare. And don't forget building up our depleted military. And don't forget taking care of our vets. Don't forget our vets. They have been forgotten. Clinton's plan would trigger a constitutional crisis unlike almost anything we have ever seen before. In effect, she would be abolishing the lawmaking powers of Congress in order to write her own laws from the Oval Office, and you see what bad judgment she has. She has seriously bad judgment. Can you imagine? In a Trump administration, all immigration laws will be enforced. As with any law enforcement activity, we will set priorities. But unlike this administration, no one will be immune or exempt from enforcement. And ICE and Border Patrol officers will be allowed to do their jobs the way their jobs are supposed to be done. Anyone who has entered the United States illegally is subject to deportation. That is what it means to have laws and to have a country. Otherwise, we don't have a country. Our enforcement priorities will include removing criminals, gang members, security threats, visa overstays, public charges, that is, those relying on public welfare or straining the safety net, along with millions of recent illegal arrivals and overstays who've come here under this current corrupt administration. Number 6, we are going to suspend the issuance of visas to any place where adequate screening cannot occur. According to data provided by the Senate Subcommittee on Immigration and the National Interest, between 9/11 and the end of 2014, at least 380 foreign-born individuals were convicted in terror cases inside the United States. And even right now, the largest number of people are under investigation for exactly this that we've ever had in the history of our country. Our country is a mess. We don't even know what to look for anymore, folks. Our country has to straighten out, and we have to straighten out fast. The number is likely higher, but the administration refuses to provide this information even to Congress. As soon as I enter office, I am going to ask the Department of State, which has been brutalized by Hillary Clinton, brutalized, Homeland Security, and the Department of Justice to begin a comprehensive review of these cases in order to develop a list of regions and countries from which immigration must be suspended until proven and effective vetting mechanisms can be put in place. I call it extreme vetting, right? Extreme vetting. I want extreme. It's going to be so tough. And if somebody comes in, that's fine, but they're going to be good. It's extreme. And if people don't like it, we got to have a country, folks. Got to have a country. Countries from which immigration will be suspended: Syria and Libya. And we are going to stop the tens of thousands of people coming in from Syria. We have no idea who they are, where they come from. There's no documentation. There's no paperwork. It's going to end badly, folks. It's going to end very, very badly. For the price of resettling one refugee in the United States, 12 could be resettled in a safe zone in their home region, which I agree with 100%. We have to build safe zones, and we'll get the money from the Gulf states. We don't want to put up the money. We owe almost $20 trillion. Double since Obama took office, our national debt. But we will get the money from Gulf states and others. We'll supervise it. We'll build safe zones, which is something that I think all of us want to see. Another reform involves new screening tests for all applicants that include and this is so important, especially if you get the right people, and we will get the right people, an ideological certification to make sure that those we are admitting to our country share our values and love our people. Thank you. We're very proud of our country, aren't we? Really? With all it's going through, we're very proud of our country. For instance, in the last 5 years, we've admitted nearly 100,000 immigrants from Iraq and Afghanistan. In these two countries, according to Pew Research, a majority of residents say that the barbaric practice of honor killings against women are often or sometimes justified. That's what they say. That's what they say. They're justified, right? And we're admitting them to our country. Applicants will be asked for their views about honor killings, about respect for women and gays and minorities, attitudes on radical Islam, which our president refuses to say, and many other topics as part of this vetting procedure. And if we have the right people doing it, believe me, very, very few will slip through the cracks. Hopefully, none. Number 7, we will ensure that other countries take their people back when we order them deported. There are at least 23 countries that refuse to take their people back after they've been ordered to leave the United States, including large numbers of violent criminals. They won't take them back, so we say, okay, we'll keep them. Not going to happen with me, folks. Not going to happen with me. Due to a Supreme Court decision, if these violent offenders cannot be sent home, our law enforcement officers have to release them into your communities. And by the way, the results are horrific. Horrific. There are often terrible consequences, such as Casey Chadwick's tragic death in Connecticut just last year. Yet, despite the existence of a law that commands the Secretary of State to stop issuing visas to these countries, Secretary Hillary Clinton ignored this law and refused to use this powerful tool to bring nations into compliance, and they would comply if we would act properly. In other words, if we had leaders that knew what they were doing, which we don't. The result of her misconduct was the release of thousands and thousands of dangerous criminal aliens who should have been sent home to their countries. Instead, we have them all over the place. Probably a couple in this room, as a matter of fact. But I hope not. According to a report from the Boston Globe, from the year 2008 through 2014, nearly 13,000 criminal aliens were released back into U.S. communities because their home countries would not, under any circumstances, take them back. Hard to believe. With the power we have, hard to believe. We're like the big bully that keeps getting beat up. Do you ever see that? The big bully that keeps getting beat up. These 13,000 releases occurred on Hillary Clinton's watch. She had the power and the duty to stop it cold, and she decided she would not do it. And Arizona knows better than most exactly what I'm talking about. Those released include individuals convicted of killings, sexual assaults, and some of the most heinous crimes imaginable. The Boston Globe writes that a Globe review of 323 criminals released in New England from 2008 to 2012 found that as many as 30% committed new offenses, including rape, attempted murder, and child molestation. We take them. We take them. Number 8, we will finally complete the biometric entry-exit visa tracking system, which we need desperately. For years, Congress has required biometric entry-exit visa tracking systems, but it has never been completed. The politicians are all talk, no action, never happens, never happens. Hillary Clinton, all talk. Unfortunately, when there is action, it's always the wrong decision. Do you ever notice? In my administration, we will ensure that this system is in place. And I will tell you, it will be on land, it will be on sea, it will be in air. We will have a proper tracking system. Approximately half of new illegal immigrants came on temporary visas and then never, ever left. Why should they? Nobody's telling them to leave. Stay as long as you want. We'll take care of you. Beyond violating our laws, visa overstays pose, and they really are a big problem, pose a substantial threat to national security. The 9/11 Commission said that this tracking system should be a high priority and would have assisted law enforcement and intelligence officials in August and September 2001 in conducting a search for 2 of the 9/11 hijackers that were in the United States on expired visas. And you know what that would have meant. What that could have meant. Wouldn't that have been wonderful, right? What that could have meant. Last year alone, nearly 500,000 individuals overstayed their temporary visas. Removing visa overstays will be a top priority of my administration. If people around the world believe they can just come on a temporary visa and never, ever leave, the Obama-Clinton policy, that's what it is, then we have a completely open border and we no longer have a country. We must send a message that visa expiration dates will be strongly enforced. Number 9, we will turn off the jobs and benefits magnet. We will ensure that E-Verify is used to the fullest extent possible under existing law, and we will work with Congress to strengthen and expand its use across the country. Immigration law doesn't exist for the purpose of keeping criminals out. It exists to protect all aspects of American life: the work site, the welfare office, the education system, and everything else. That is why immigration limits are established in the first place. If we only enforce the laws against crime, then we have an open border to the entire world. We will enforce all of our immigration laws. And the same goes for government benefits. The Center for Immigration Studies estimates that 62% of households headed by illegal immigrants use some form of cash or non-cash welfare programs like food stamps or housing assistance. Tremendous costs, by the way, to our country, tremendous costs. This directly violates the federal public charge law designed to protect the United States Treasury. Those who abuse our welfare system will be priorities for immediate removal. Number 10, we will reform legal immigration to serve the best interests of America and its workers, the forgotten people, workers. We're going to take care of our workers. And by the way, we're going to make great trade deals. We're going to renegotiate trade deals. We're going to bring our jobs back home. We're going to bring our jobs back home. We have the most incompetently worked trade deals ever negotiated probably in the history of the world. And that starts with NAFTA. And now they want to go TPP, one of the great disasters. We're going to bring our jobs back home. And if companies want to leave Arizona, and if they want to leave other states, there's going to be a lot of trouble for them. It's not going to be so easy. There will be consequence. Remember that. There will be consequence. They're not going to be leaving, go to another country, make the product, sell it into the United States, and all we end up with is no taxes and total unemployment. It's not going to happen. There will be consequences. We've admitted 59 million immigrants to the United States between 1965 and 2015. Many of these arrivals have greatly enriched our country, so true. But we now have an obligation to them and to their children to control future immigration. As we have following, if you think, previous immigration waves, we've had some big waves. And tremendously positive things have happened. Incredible things have happened. To ensure assimilation, we want to ensure that it works. Assimilation, an important word. Integration and upward mobility. Within just a few years, immigration as a share of national population is set to break all historical records. The time has come for a new immigration commission to develop a new set of reforms to our legal immigration system in order to achieve the following goals: to keep immigration levels measured by population share within historical norms, to select immigrants based on their likelihood of success in U.S. society and their ability to be financially self-sufficient. We take anybody. Come on in, anybody. Just come on in. Not anymore. You know, folks, it's called a two-way street. It is a two-way street, right? We need a system that serves our needs, not the needs of others. Remember, under a Trump administration, it's called America First. Remember that. To choose immigrants based on merit, skill, and proficiency. Doesn't that sound nice? And to establish new immigration controls to boost wages and to ensure that open jobs are offered to American workers first, and that in particular African American and Latino workers who are being shut out in this process so unfairly. And Hillary Clinton is going to do nothing for the African American worker, the Latino worker. She's going to do nothing. Give me your vote, she says, on November 8th. And then she'll say, so long, see you in 4 years. That's what it is. She is going to do nothing. And just look at the past. She's done nothing. She's been there for 35 years. She's done nothing. And I say, what do you have to lose? Choose me. Watch how good we're going to do together. Watch. You watch. We want people to come into our country, but they have to come into our country legally and properly vetted and in a manner that serves the national interest. We've been living under outdated immigration rules from decades ago. They're decades and decades old. To avoid this happening in the future, I believe we should sunset our visa laws so that Congress is forced to periodically revise and revisit them to bring them up to date. They're archaic, they're ancient. We wouldn't put our entire federal budget on autopilot for decades, so why should we do the same for the very, very complex subject of immigration? So let's now talk about the big picture. These 10 steps, if rigorously followed and enforced, will accomplish more in a matter of months than our politicians have accomplished on this issue in the last 50 years. It's what's going to happen, folks. Because I am proudly not a politician, because I am not beholden to any special interest, I've spent a lot of money on my campaign, I'll tell you. I write those checks. Nobody owns Trump. I will get this done for you and for your family. We'll do it right. You'll be proud of our country again. We'll do it right. We will accomplish all of the steps outlined above. And when we do, peace and law and justice and prosperity will prevail. Crime will go down. Border crossings will plummet. Gangs will disappear, and the gangs are all over the place. And welfare use will decrease. We will have a peace dividend to spend on rebuilding America, beginning with our American inner cities. We're going to rebuild them for once and for all. For those here illegally today who are seeking legal status, they will have one route and one route only: to return home and apply for re-entry like everybody else under the rules of the new legal immigration system that I have outlined above. Those who have left to seek entry, thank you. Thank you. Those who have left to seek entry under this new system, and it will be an efficient system, will not be awarded surplus visas, but will have to apply for entry under the immigration caps or limits that will be established in the future. We will break the cycle of amnesty and illegal immigration. We will break the cycle. There will be no amnesty. Our message to the world will be this: you cannot obtain legal status or become a citizen of the United States by illegally entering our country. Can't do it. This declaration alone will help stop the crisis of illegal crossings and illegal overstays, very importantly. People will know that you can't just smuggle in, hunker down, and wait to be legalized. Not going to work that way. Those days are over. Importantly, in several years, when we have accomplished all of our enforcement and deportation goals and truly ended illegal immigration for good, including the construction of a great wall which we will have built in record time and at a reasonable cost, which you never hear from the government, and the establishment of our new lawful immigration system, then and only then will we be in a position to consider the appropriate disposition of those individuals who remain. That discussion can take place only in an atmosphere in which illegal immigration is a memory of the past, no longer with us, allowing us to weigh the different options available based on the new circumstances at the time. Right now, however, we are in the middle of a jobs crisis, a border crisis, and a terrorism crisis like never before. All energies of the federal government and the legislative process must now be focused on immigration security. That is the only conversation we should be having at this time. Immigration security. Cut it off. Whether it's dangerous materials being smuggled across the border, terrorists entering on visas, or Americans losing their jobs to foreign workers. These are the problems we must now focus on fixing, and the media needs to begin demanding to hear Hillary Clinton's answer on how her policies will affect Americans and their security. These are matters of life and death for our country and its people, and we deserve answers from Hillary Clinton. And you notice she doesn't answer. She didn't go to Louisiana. She didn't go to Mexico. She was invited. She doesn't have the strength or the stamina to make America great again, believe me. What we do know, despite the lack of media curiosity, is that Hillary Clinton promises a radical amnesty combined with a radical reduction in immigration enforcement. Just ask the Border Patrol about Hillary Clinton. You won't like what you're hearing. The result will be millions more illegal immigrants, thousands of more violent, horrible crimes, and total chaos and lawlessness. That's what's going to happen as sure as you're standing there. This election, and I believe this, is our last chance to secure the border, stop illegal immigration, and reform our laws to make your life better. I really believe this is it. This is our last time. November 8th. November 8th. You got to get out and vote on November 8th. It's our last chance. It's our last chance. And that includes Supreme Court justices and Second Amendment. Remember that. So I want to remind everyone what we're fighting for and who we are fighting for. I am going to ask, these are really special people that I've gotten to know. I'm going to ask all of the angel moms to come join me on the stage right now. These are amazing women. These are amazing people. I've become friends with so many, but Jamil Shaw, incredible guy, lost his son so violently. Say just a few words about your child.
My son, Ronald da Silva, was murdered April 27, 2002 by an illegal alien who had been previously deported. And what makes me so outrageous is that we came here legally. Thank you, Mr. Trump. I totally support you. You have my vote.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless. bless you.
You know what? Name your child and come right by. Go ahead.
Laura Wilkerson, and my son was Joshua Wilkerson. He was murdered by an illegal in 2010, and I personally support Mr. Trump for our next president.
My name is Ruth Johnston Martin. My husband was shot by an illegal alien. He fought the good fight, but he took his last breath in 2002, and I support this man who is going to change this country for the better. God bless you.
My name is Maureen Maloney, and our son Matthew Denise was 23 years old when he was dragged a quarter of a mile to his death by an illegal alien, while horrified witnesses were banging on the truck trying to stop him.
Our son Matthew Denise, if Donald Trump were president in 2011, our son Matthew Denise and other Americans would be alive today.
Thank you. My name is Kathy Woods. My son Steve, a high school senior, 17 years old, went to the beach after a high school football game. The local gang came along, 9 members. The cars were battered to like war in Beirut. And all I can say is they murdered him. And if Mr. Trump had been in office then, the border would have been secure and our children would not be dead today.
Hi, my name is Brenda Sparks, and my son is named Eric Zepeda. He was raised by a legal immigrant from Honduras, only to be murdered by an illegal in 2011. His murderer never did a second in handcuffs or jail. Got away with killing an American. So I'm voting for Trump. And by the way, so is my mother.
My name is Dee Engle. My cousin Rebecca Ann Johnston, known as Becky, was murdered on January the 1st, 1989 in North Little Rock, Arkansas. Thank you. And if you don't vote Trump, we won't have a country. Trump all the way.
I'm Shannon Estes, and my daughter Shaylee Estes, 22 years old, was murdered here in Phoenix last July 24th by a Russian who overstayed his visa. And vote Trump.
I'm Mary Ann Mendoza, the mother of Sergeant Brandon Mendoza, who was killed in a violent head-on collision May 12, 2014 in Mesa. Thank you. And I want to thank Phoenix for the support you've all always given me. And I want to tell you what, I'm supporting the man who is the only man who's going to save our country and what we are going to be leaving our children.
I'm Steve Ronnebeck, father of Grant Ronnebeck, 21 years old, killed January 22nd, 2015 by an illegal immigrant who shot him in the face. I truly believe that Mr. Trump is going to change things. He's going to fight for my family, and he's going to fight for America.
These are amazing people. And I'm not asking for their endorsement, I believe me that. I just think I've gotten to know so many of them and many more from our group. But they are incredible people, and what they're going through is incredible, and there's just no reason for it. So let's give them a really tremendous hand. That's tough stuff, I will tell you. That is tough stuff. Incredible people. So now is the time for these voices to be heard. Now is the time for the media to begin asking questions on their behalf. Now is the time for all of us as one country, Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, to band together to deliver justice and safety and security for all Americans. Let's fix this horrible, horrible problem. It can be fixed quickly. Let's secure our border. Let's stop the drugs and the crime from pouring into our country. Let's protect our Social Security and Medicare. Let's get unemployed Americans off the welfare and back to work in their own country. This has been an incredible evening. We're going to remember this evening. November 8th, we have to get everybody. This is such an important state. November 8th, we have to get everybody to go out and vote. We're going to bring... Thank you. Thank you. We're going to take our country back, folks. This is a movement. We're going to take our country back. Thank you. Thank you. This is an incredible movement. The world is talking about it. The world is talking about it. And by the way, if you haven't been looking at what's been happening at the polls over the last 3 or 4 days, I think you should start looking. You should start looking. Together, we can save American lives, American jobs, and American futures. Together, we can save America itself. Join me in this mission. We're going to make America great again. Thank you. I love you. Thank you. God bless you, everybody.
Don't let it happen again.
I won't get down in the mud with them. I won't play politics with national security or dishonor the memory of those who we lost.
The fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference does it make?
And so I'm going to do what I've always done.
And I think, what we've learned here is, well, nothing.
I will reiterate, because it's a fact, nothing I sent or received was marked classified.
Give me some time. I'll come up with a plan.
Just don't tell him the truth.
They can't. They can't know the truth. The truth, you see, is bad. I will be branded with this mistake for the rest of my life.
Play politics with national security or dishonor the memory of those who we lost.
In the aftermath, what became clear was that the security was lax, that not all the precautions that needed to be taken were taken.
Also developed evidence that the security culture of the State Department was generally lacking in the kind of care for classified information that's found elsewhere in the U.S. government.
And now more than ever, we need you to keep holding leaders and candidates accountable.
It was you! Don't let it happen again.
greetings, citizens of the radio world. It has come to our attention that the radio station known as Pirate Radio Number 9 has been saying unkind things about Hillary Clinton and the DNC. This old grouch you have contact with must be stopped. These actions will no longer be tolerated. We are anonymous. We are Legion. We will take you down. We control your access to the internet. We control your YouTube account. We are everywhere, even in your videos. We will hack and control them all. We are anonymous. We are Legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
Seven email chains concern matters that were classified at the top secret special access program at the time they were sent and received. Those chains involve Secretary Clinton both sending emails about those matters and receiving emails about those same matters.
I will reiterate, because it's a fact, nothing I sent or received was marked classified.
Don't tell me a story. Just take responsibility.
I did not primarily conduct business on email with officials in our government. And I made it a practice to send emails that were work-related to people on their government account.
They may smile at you on the street, but that doesn't mean they like you.
I don't respond to Donald Trump and his string of insults about me. I can take care of myself. I look forward to running against him if he turns out to be the Republican nominee, if I am the Democratic nominee. What I'm concerned about is how he goes after everybody else. He goes after women. He goes after Muslims. He goes after immigrants. He goes after people with disabilities. He is hurting our unity at home. He is undermining the values that we stand for in New York. It's hurting us around the world. Hurting us around the world. Hurting us around the world.
It was you!
Hurting us around the world. I don't respond to Donald Trump and his string of insults. He can say whatever he wants to say about me. I really could care less. I'm going to stay focused on the issues because there are stark differences between where I think our country needs to be headed and where he would turn us back. I don't respond to Donald Trump and his string of insults and undermine the progress that we've been making. So when I talk about jobs, when I talk about climate change, when I talk about equal pay, when I talk about a woman's right to make her own health care decisions and so much else, I know that he doesn't believe any of that. I don't respond to Donald Trump and his string of insults and that in this campaign he wants to set Americans against each other, and I'm not going to stand for it.
I need some angry, flocking birds. You hear me? Now who's angry?
The fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
Landmark rulings from the Supreme Court on immigration and affirmative action. In a 4-4 split decision, the Supreme Court basically blocked President Obama's immigration executive orders. The president's plan would have protected millions of illegal immigrants from deportation and given them permits to work legally in the United States.
Leaving the broken system the way it is, that's factually incorrect. That's not a solution. In fact, that's the real amnesty, pretending we can deport 11 million people. That's factually incorrect. Or build a wall without spending tens of billions of dollars of taxpayer money. That's factually incorrect. What is really just factually incorrect. We don't have to wall ourselves off from those who may not look like us right now or pray like we do or have a different last name. That's factually incorrect, because being an American is about something more than that. Republicans in Congress currently are willfully preventing the Supreme Court from being fully staffed. That's factually incorrect and functioning as our founders intended. That's factually incorrect, and today's situation underscores the degree to which the court is not able to function the way it's supposed to. That's factually incorrect.
It's time to move on.
It's time to move on. It's time to move on.
It is our job to figure out what happened and do everything we can to prevent it from ever happening again, Senator.
The question, if you couldn't hear it, was about the committee report on Benghazi that was released today. And I have said from the very beginning, nothing is more important than the safety and security of our diplomats and development officials who go into dangerous places around the world.
What difference at this point does it make?
Pursuing American values, interests, and our security. And I said this when I testified for 11 hours.
The fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
And we owe it to those brave Americans to make sure that we learn the right lessons from this tragedy. I understand that after more than 2 years and $7 million spent by the Benghazi Committee out of taxpayer funds, it had to today report it had found nothing to contradict the conclusions of the Independent Accountability Board or the conclusions of the prior multiple earlier investigations. The best way to honor the commitment and sacrifice of those we lost is to redouble our efforts to provide the resources and support that our diplomats deserve. I'll leave it to others to characterize this report, but I think it's pretty clear it's time to move on. It's time to move on. It's time to move on. It's time to move on.
It's time to move on. It's time to move on.
It's time to move on.
That's important for all of us, but it's particularly important for our young people. Because I want you to have the same confidence and optimism about our future that prior generations of Americans have had. I did not primarily conduct business on email with officials in our government. And I made it a practice to send emails that were work-related to people on their government accounts. I did not primarily conduct business on email with officials in our government. And I made it a practice to send emails that were work-related to people on their government accounts. I did not primarily conduct business on email. And I made it a practice.
I did not primarily conduct business on email. And I made it a practice. I did not. And I made it a practice. I did not primarily conduct business on email. And I made it a practice.
And now more than ever, we need you to keep holding leaders and candidates accountable.
They may smile at you on the street, but that doesn't mean they like you.
And during these past 18 months, people across our country have described to me how hard it's been to get back on their feet in an economy that is still not working the way we all want to see it. So as bad as things became, 9 million jobs lost, 5 million homes lost, $13 trillion in family wealth wiped out. As bad as it was, there's no telling how far down we would have gone without his leadership. And in my first 100 days, I'm going to introduce legislation for comprehensive immigration reform with a path to citizenship.
La mujer migrante, al menos la que pasa por aquí, por esta región, en el 80% va a ser violada. Entonces, al menos se va protegiendo para no quedar embarazada.
And of course, I hope you will compare what I'm proposing to what my opponent is talking about.
Are you saying I'm stupid? No. Do I look stupid to you?
Now, here's one measure that you could use for that comparison. An independent economist recently calculated that if my agenda for jobs and growth is put into place, our economy would create at least 10.4 million jobs within 4 years. We actually think it could be more than that.
I have been in outhouses that didn't stink that bad.
Now, this economist also ran the numbers on Donald Trump, including his disastrous and inhumane plan to round up and deport millions of hardworking immigrants.
You lied to the colony. You lied to me.
The result, according to Mark Zandi, who was the economic advisor to John McCain during his 2008 run for the presidency, the result of Trump's plans would be a lengthy recession with 3.4 million jobs lost. So as bad as things became, 9 million jobs lost, 5 million homes lost, $13 trillion in family wealth wiped out. As bad as it was, there's no telling how far down we would have gone without his leadership.
Now, of course, Donald Trump's problems go far beyond economics. At every turn, he stokes division and resentment. He says horrible things about one group of Americans after another.
The fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
Anything to encourage more illegal immigration into this country.
Look, I voted numerous times when I was a senator to spend money to build a barrier to try to prevent illegal immigrants from coming in.
You know, secure our borders with technology, personnel, physical barriers if necessary. We need to have tougher employer sanctions. He's hearkening back to the most shameful chapters of our history and appealing to the ugliest impulses of our society. You know the list, you've reported on it. He started this campaign by describing Mexican immigrants as criminals and rapists.
La mujer migrante, al menos la que pasa por aquí, por esta región, en el 80% va a ser violada. Entonces, al menos se va protegiendo para no quedar embarazada.
He talks about banning Muslims from coming to the United States and built on religious freedom. And yes, he also talks about curtailing press freedom as well. We need to stand up as a country. And now more than ever, we need you to keep holding leaders and candidates accountable.
Don't tell me a story. Just take responsibility.
Everyone, Republican, Democrat, and Independent, needs to stand up and speak out. It's when you take a stand, when you denounce injustice. So I hope you'll keep calling it like you see it. Keep holding all of us accountable.
It was you!
But I do have this old-fashioned idea. When you run for president, you ought to tell the voters of America what you would do as president. So I am going to keep telling you what I would do because I want you to hold me accountable, press and citizens alike.
First rule of leadership: everything is your fault.
We have instead a Republican nominee who has been virulently anti-immigrant. But there's nothing like winning to change minds.
Guess what? You just lost.
Are you mischaracterizing Director Comey's testimony? And is this not undercutting your efforts to rebuild trust?
Give me some time. I'll come up with a plan.
Just go tell him the truth.
They can't. They can't know the truth. The truth, you see, is bad. I will be branded with this mistake for the rest of my life.
The American people.
Well, Kristen, I appreciate your asking that because I was pointing out in both of those instances that Director Comey had said that my answers in my FBI interview were truthful. That's really the bottom line here.
Secretary Clinton said there was nothing marked classified on her emails either sent or received. Was that true?
That's not true.
Secretary Clinton said, I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email. There is no classified material. Was that true?
There was classified material
Secretary
emailed.
Clinton said she used just one device. Was that true?
She used multiple devices.
Secretary Clinton said all work-related emails were returned to the State Department. Was that true?
No, we found work-related emails, thousands, that were not
Secretary
returned.
Clinton said her lawyers read every one of the emails and were overly inclusive. Did her lawyers read the email content individually?
No.
Well, in the interest of time, I'm not going to go through any more of the false statements.
And I have said during the interview and in many other occasions over the past months that what I told the FBI, which he said was truthful, is consistent with what I have said publicly.
Guess what? You just lost.
So I may have short-circuited it, and for that I, will try to clarify because I think, Chris Wallace and I were probably talking past each other because, of course, he could only talk to what I had told the FBI, and I appreciated that. Now, I have acknowledged repeatedly that using 2 email accounts was a mistake.
Do I look stupid to you?
And I take responsibility for that. But I do think, having him say that my answers to the FBI were truthful, and then I should quickly add, what I said was consistent with what I had said publicly. And that's really sort of, in my view, trying to tie both ends together.
Is the one inconsistency, though, that you said you never sent or received classified material, and he did say there were 3 emails that were marked classified at the time. Is that an inconsistency?
Well, here are the facts behind that as well. That I sent over 30,000 emails to the State Department that were work-related emails. Director Comey said that only 3 out of 30,000 had anything resembling classified markers. What does that mean? Well, usually, if any of you have ever served in the government, a classified document has a big heading on the top, which makes very clear what the classification is. And in questioning, Director Comey made the point that the 3 emails out of the 30,000 did not have the appropriate markings. And it was therefore reasonable to conclude that anyone, including myself, would have not suspected that they were classified.
But even if information is not marked classified in an email, participants who know or should know that the subject matter is classified are still obligated to protect it.
In fact, I think that has been discussed by others who have said 2 out of those 3 were later explained by the State Department not to have been in any way confidential at the time that they were delivered.
None of these emails should have been on any kind of unclassified system.
So that leaves the 100 out of 30,000 emails that Director Comey testified contained classified information. But again, he acknowledged there were no markings on those 100 emails. And so what we have here is pretty much what I have been saying throughout this whole year, and that is that I never sent or received anything that was marked classified.
Refinance and pay down your student debt. I want we can have a renaissance in manufacturing and jobs that will give people good livings and the part that will make college affordable for everyone. We need to pass a law finally that says people who are on the terrorist watch list can't buy.
Plan the motor west. You better take my way, the highway.
It's not only our men and women in uniform who serve our country, it's their families, their spouses, their children, and we are grateful to each and every one of them. And all of the other electeds and service members
active duty and retired, National Guard and reservists, veterans, military, spouses, family members, all who are with us today. We honor the sacrifice of those who died for our country in many ways. And a strong, confident America that leads to keep our country safe and our economy growing. As Secretary of State, Senator, and First Lady, I had the honor of representing America abroad. As a candidate for president, there's nothing I take more seriously than our national security. I've offered clear strategies for how to defeat ISIS. Americans aren't just electing a president in November. We're choosing our next commander-in-chief, the person we count on to decide questions of war and peace, life and death. And like many across our country and around the world, I believe the person the Republicans have nominated for president, Donald Trump, can do the job. And I'm just unprepared, temperamentally unfit to hold an office that requires knowledge, stability, and immense responsibility. He praises Vladimir Putin and picks fights with our friends, including the British Prime Minister, the Mayor of London, the German Chancellor, the President of Mexico, and the Pope. Those are the words, my friends, of someone who doesn't understand America or the world. I'd be doing everything I could to make sure Donald Trump never becomes president, because I believe he will take our country down a truly dangerous path. Unlike him, I have some experience with the tough calls and the hard work of statecraft, and stood up for the rights of women, religious minorities, and LGBT people around the world. I have sat in the Situation Room and advised the president on some of the toughest choices he faced. So I'm not new to this work, and I'm proud to run on my record, because I think the choice before the American people in this election is clear. And if America doesn't lead, we leave a vacuum, and that will either cause chaos or other countries will rush in to fill the void. Then they'll be the ones making the decisions about your lives and jobs and safety, and trust me, the choices they make will not be to our benefit. We need to be strong at home. That means investing in our infrastructure, education, and innovation, the fundamentals of a strong economy. And it's also the legacy of American troops who fought and died to secure those bonds, because they knew we were safer with friends and partners. We're lucky to have two friendly neighbors on our land borders. Why would he want to make one of them an enemy? But there is no question that the world and the United States, we are safer now than we were before. He also refused to rule out nuclear weapons against ISIS, which would mean mass civilian casualties. Our troops give their all. They deserve a commander-in-chief who knows that. Trump says over and over again, the world is laughing at us. He's been saying this for decades. He didn't just start this year. He bought full-page ads in newspapers across America back in 1987 when Ronald Reagan was president, saying that America lacked a backbone and the world was, you guessed it, laughing at us. And you've got to wonder why somebody
who fundamentally has so little confidence in America and has felt that way for at least 30 years, wants to be our president.
So?
Because if you're convinced you're always right, you'll never ask yourself the hard questions.
So?
Well, I have a lot of faith that the American people will make the right decision. This is a country with a deep reservoir of common sense and national pride. Join the president and stand up to them. I'm with him. And he wants to make sure gun manufacturers can finally be held accountable when their guns are used to kill our children.
Okay, and who else was at your home? Were you alone?
I was alone, yes.
The whole night?
Well, yes, the whole night.
Well, I don't know why that's funny. Okay, and who else was at your home? Were you alone?
I was alone, yes.
The whole night?
Well, yes, the whole night.
Well, I don't know why that's funny.
It's not only our men and women in uniform who serve our country, it's their families, their spouses, their children, and we are grateful to each and every one of them. And all of the other electeds and service members, active duty and retired, National Guard and reservists, veterans, military, spouses, family members, all who are with us today. We honor the sacrifice of those who died for our country in many ways. And a strong, confident America that leads to keep our country safe and our economy growing. As Secretary of State, Senator, and First Lady, I had the honor of representing America abroad. As a candidate for president, there's nothing I take more seriously than our national security. I've offered clear strategies for how to defeat ISIS. Americans aren't just electing a president in November. We're choosing our next commander-in-chief, the person we count on to decide questions of war and peace, life and death. And like many across our country and around the world, I believe the person the Republicans have nominated for president, Donald Trump, can do the job. And I'm just unprepared, temperamentally unfit to hold an office that requires knowledge, stability, and immense responsibility. He praises Vladimir Putin and picks fights with our friends, including the British Prime Minister, the Mayor of London, the German Chancellor, the President of Mexico, and the Pope. Those are the words, my friends, of someone who doesn't understand America or the world. I'd be doing everything I could to make sure Donald Trump never becomes president, because I believe he will take our country down a truly dangerous path. Unlike him, I have some experience with the tough calls and the hard work of statecraft, and stood up for the rights of women, religious minorities, and LGBT people around the world. I have sat in the Situation Room and advised the president on some of the toughest choices he faced. So I'm not new to this work, and I'm proud to run on my record, because I think the choice before the American people in this election is clear. And if America doesn't lead, we leave a vacuum, and that will either cause chaos or other countries will rush in to fill the void. Then they'll be the ones making the decisions about your lives and jobs and safety, and trust me, the choices they make will not be to our benefit. We need to be strong at home. That means investing in our infrastructure, education, and innovation, the fundamentals of a strong economy. And it's also the legacy of American troops who fought and died to secure those bonds, because they knew we were safer with friends and partners. We're lucky to have two friendly neighbors on our land borders. Why would he want to make one of them an enemy? But there is no question that the world and the United States, we are safer now than we were before. He also refused to rule out nuclear weapons against ISIS, which would mean mass civilian casualties. Our troops give their all. They deserve a commander-in-chief who knows that. Trump says over and over again, the world is laughing at us. He's been saying this for decades. He didn't just start this year.
He bought full-page ads in newspapers across America back in 1987 when Ronald Reagan was president, saying that America lacked a backbone and the world was, you guessed it, laughing at us. And you've got to wonder why somebody who fundamentally has so little confidence in America and has felt that way for at least 30 years wants to be our president. Because if you're convinced you're always right, you'll never ask yourself the hard questions. Well, I have a lot of faith that the American people will make the right decision. This is a country with a deep reservoir of common sense and national pride. Join the president and stand up to them. I'm with him. And he wants to make sure gun manufacturers can finally be held accountable when their guns are used to kill our children.
It is undisputed that a significant number of your emails were to or from a Sidney Blumenthal. Now, he did not work for the State Department. He didn't work for the U.S. government at all. He wanted to work for the State Department, but the White House said no to him. Do you recall who specifically at the White House rejected Sidney Blumenthal?
No, I do not.
After he was turned down for a job at the State Department by the White House, he went to work where?
I think he had a number of consulting contracts with different entities.
Well, if he had a number of them, do you recall any of them?
I know that he did some work for my husband.
Well, he worked for the Clinton Foundation.
That's correct.
Okay. He worked for Media Matters.
I'm sure he did.
He worked for Correct the Record.
Bill and Chelsea Clinton, no doubt setting the stage for a very contentious 90 minutes ahead.
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
It swept a hurricane from the headlines, plunged the Republican Party into chaos.
I can't endorse this person for president.
And prompted a rare apology.
I said it. I was wrong. And I apologize.
Tonight, Donald Trump takes the debate stage in St. Louis amid controversy about lewd remarks caught on a hot mic in 2005 while he taped a segment with Access Hollywood.
I'll admit it. Whoa. I did try and she was married.
Saturday brought a cascade of prominent Republicans, John McCain, Condoleezza Rice, Carly Fiorina, and more, all voicing rejection of the GOP nominee. Some calling on him to withdraw and let Mike Pence lead the ticket. Trump has said no way, and Saturday afternoon emerged from the front doors of Trump Tower to a crowd of supporters. Those standing by him argue Trump made the comment well before entering the political arena and has been changed by the campaign trail.
I am not justifying it. I believe it's wrong. I know he believes it's wrong. I believe that this is not the man that we're talking about today.
Trump was already slated to play defense tonight after Clinton was widely seen as the winner of the first debate, and Trump was criticized for lacking discipline.
She doesn't have the look. She doesn't have the stamina.
This latest controversy emboldening those critics.
He's insecure enough that he pumps himself up by putting other people down. Not a character trait that I would advise for somebody in the Oval Office.
And we understand that some of Clinton's top debate prep advisors have recently arrived here on the Washington University campus. They are obviously huddling to regroup and rework their strategy for tonight's debate. A couple of campaign aides acknowledged that they were not expecting this. But as for whether Secretary Clinton will be rattled by all of it, those aides say not at all. Reporting live at Washington University in St. Louis, I'm Karen Kaffa. Now back to you.
Karen, what's the setting there, though? Is Mr. Trump going to have the women sitting front and center right in front of the Hillary Clinton debate podium?
Yeah, Rick, this will be the question here tonight. We've just recently learned that these women will be guests of the Trump campaign and in the debate hall. Just where they will be in the hall, we're not quite sure. But the fact that they will be there at all really is a move that not a lot of people were expecting. And certainly this press conference was not something that people were expecting. The question was there, would Donald Trump raise Bill Clinton's infidelities during this debate? He certainly had been hinting at it, and the events of the last 48 hours or so really kind of seemed to encourage him doing so, and he had hinted at it a little bit in his statement on Friday night after that initial tape was released. But what it does here is not only brings this issue to the forefront that Trump has been hinting at, it also very much throws Hillary Clinton off of her game. We're talking about less than an hour now before this debate starts. The Clinton campaign certainly working to regroup and see what they can do here.
Karen, back to the tape. I'm sure this headline is buzzing right now that Billy Bush has been asked to not come on the Today Show. He's being suspended temporarily. What's the atmosphere been like surrounding the buzz of the released tape?
Yeah, obviously, Courtney, this has changed the dynamic dramatically around this second debate. I've talked to a lot of fellow journalists who were saying, well, they weren't going to come to this debate because it was a Sunday night. Wasn't really going to get a lot of the attention and buzz that first one did. Well, Friday afternoon certainly changed everything. And the fact that there has been this growing chorus of Republicans calling on Trump, first of all, disavowing their support for him, and some of them even calling on him to get out of the race. This is a crucial, critical point for Trump's campaign. We've seen it through the primary cycle, just that chasm that there was in the Republican Party and how it was starting to maybe come together a little bit. Well, this has kind of blown that out of the water entirely. And Trump was already struggling in the polls. He already needed to turn a really solid debate performance here tonight after many people criticized him for being ill-prepared for the last one. Obviously, the events of the last 48 hours, specifically that tape, have changed things dramatically. And a lot of people will be looking to see how Trump responds in a live setting to this tape. You know, we heard the taped apology from him on Friday night. Tonight will be live. There will be a live audience, and there will be moderators who will be asking follow-up. So certainly a dramatic moment about to take place here in less than an hour in St. Louis.
For sure, yeah. And lucky you get to witness it all first.
When you were asked about Sidney Blumenthal, you said he was an